What's up, everybody? It's your boy Toxie Boyo, and I've been working on a little treat for you guys. This cool little tier maker tier list right here in regards to Marvel Rivals. Jesus Christ, Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls and what the roster might look like, how it might shake out. Um, I've gathered 50 characters, some of which are already confirmed, so that's what that tier up here is for. But it's just based on which characters are popular, who could be interesting in a fighting game. They did mention in a blog post that there's going to be characters here who have never been playable in a fighting game before, so I'm keeping that type of thing in mind too. Just like characters that have been getting a lot of representation in recent games might kind of fall by the wayside here. My 50 characters might look different from 50 characters that you come up with, but I've got it divided up into 5 tiers here. Confirmed, no-brainer, as in, like, characters that are probably guaranteed to go on the roster. Debatable, and that tier is mostly for like who could you make a strong case for being on the base roster, or the launch roster rather. Then there's DLC. Obviously, like, we're gonna grab a couple characters, maybe 8 characters, and figure out who might be a season 1, season 2 type character. And then Pipe Dream, there's a couple characters in this grouping that I doubt will make it into the game, but it would be really nice. I've got 50 characters here, like I said. I don't think that that's a ridiculous number, because Dragon Ball FighterZ ended with a roster of about 44 characters, and I think Injustice 2 has 40. So 50 characters by the end of its lifespan is completely feasible. So right off the bat, we are going to grab Dr. Doom. We're going to take, where is he? Spider-Man. Also, some of these got cropped really weird, unfortunately. Like, this is Mr. Fantastic right here, but you probably cannot tell that at all. We're going to take Storm. Where is she? Where is she? She's got to be here somewhere, right? Oh! Kamala's not here. I'm sorry, Kamala's not here. Well, I missed a character, apparently. Kamala Khan should be here, too. I guess I didn't put her in the folder that I put everybody in here from. That's freaking irritating. So it would be 51 characters. So I don't want to hear any comments about how I missed Kamala Khan. I didn't mean to do that. Jesus, who else got confirmed in that reveal? Where is he? There he is. Boom. 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm missing somebody. Where's Star-Lord? There he is. Okay, so imagine that Kamala Khan's in there too. I keep wanting to call her Kamala. Jesus Christ. Okay. So now that we've got that out of the way, we can move on to characters like... Where do we want to start for the no-brainer tier? We'll start with the Incredible Hulk. He's a staple of Marvel Comics. You really can't build a Marvel video game roster without him. He's been in fighting games. He's in Marvel Rivals. He's in Avengers. He's in Midnight Suns. He's in games about teams that he's never been a part of. He's in Ultimate Alliance. He's everywhere you go. If it's a Marvel game that's not about a very specific character that he has no reason to be in, then he'll be there. And by that same token, we'll round out the big 3 with Wolverine. And when I say big 3, if you are a child of the 90s or the very early 2000s, then you probably remember that Spider-Man, the Incredible Hulk, and Wolverine kind of were Marvel's holy trinity of characters. That's why the 3 of them kind of made it to the big screen at around the same time, because that's like that's the core of what makes up Marvel right there. Now let's get into some X-Men. Since we already, we've got Wolverine and Storm in here, let's talk about some more X-Men. Jean Grey, I feel like you have to. A lot of this roster is going to be like, oh, well, if you played MVC, then this will make sense, So we're also going to take her boyfriend, or husband, I guess. We're going to have Cyclops going in the no-brainer. I feel like, he missed the last couple MVC games, but if you're an X-Men Coda fan or X-Men vs. Street Fighter fan, then you know that Cyclops does have a history in these types of games, and it's time for him to come back. You know, the thing I'm the most optimistic about when it comes to this game is that this is the first Marvel fighting game since Marvel got control of the Fox characters, right? There's a whole thing going on with litigation and whatever regarding the Fox characters when it came to MVCI. So there were no X-Men, no Doctor Doom, no Fantastic Four related characters whatsoever. No mutants, so no Magneto, no Deadpool, none of that stuff. That sucked. But now that everything's back under control and, you know, you got the Fantastic Four and Marvel Rivals, I feel a little bit better about that. Another character who I do think is a no-brainer for the launch roster, Deadpool. He's a character that's, you know, I won't say he's on top of the world right now. Yes, his last movie made $1 billion, but there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot going on with that. Because there's a reason that movie made so much more money than the other two Deadpool movies, and this guy right here has a lot to do with that. But, you know, that's not to take anything away from the character. But, in regards to Deadpool and Wolverine, Gambit is on top of the world right now. Between X-Men 97 and Deadpool and Wolverine, there's just more Gambit fans right now than there have ever been. And as far as I know, this character has not appeared in a fighting game since X-Men vs. Street Fighter, right? At least that's the last time I can remember seeing him. I don't think he was in any of the MVC games. But, yeah, I mean, it's just, it's a no-brainer. He would probably be a zoner, obviously, but I feel like he's got enough options and just enough visual flair to be interesting. So if you're smart, you'll put him in the game, right? That's where I am with that. And by extension, oh, do I want to say she's a no-brainer? No, I don't want to say she's a no-brainer, actually. But here's who I will say is a no-brainer. Doctor Strange. The character is just simply more popular than he's ever been. You know, over these last 10 years, he's big in the MCU. You know, people are huge on him right now. I mean, the last movie made almost $1 billion. People are clamoring for Doctor Strange 3. There's a lot of discussion around, you know, Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch's version of the character being like the new linchpin, the new staple of the MCU in Tony Stark's absence. Either him, Sam Wilson, or Yelena. Actually, I say it should be Yelena, but it could totally be Doctor Strange. But for that reason, and just for his long history in Marvel vs. Capcom, I say he's a no-brainer. Another no-brainer, because of his long-standing history in these types of games, is Magneto. You gotta have the Master of Magnetism. He is like, when it comes to Marvel villains, it's this guy, and it's this guy. Like, Thanos and Ultron are big deals too, right? But like, when it comes to a fighting game where you want it to be A, balanced, but B, also something that pays respect to the character and stays true to that character, it's difficult to make Thanos and or Ultron work in a game like this. Magneto, you've done it before, you can do it again. Alright, so one more no-brainer. Black Panther. Again, extraordinarily popular character over the last decade. And especially with his game getting canceled, which I did a whole thing about on my other channel. I might post that video here, though, because nobody watched it. It feels like you've got to be out of your mind to exclude him, right? But hey, people make stupid decisions like that all the time. But he's in Marvel Rivals, so I don't see why he would not be here, especially after being in MVCI. Oh, who else do I want to say is a no-brainer? It starts to get a little bit more difficult the more characters that I've already put into the list. Let's move on from there and start taking a look at the debatable tier. We'll start with Mr. Fantastic, or you know, the lower 58% of Mr. Fantastic. The only reason that he's debatable is, from a gameplay perspective, he would play extraordinarily similarly to Kamala Khan. You know, they've both got stretchy limbs. They can make their fists really big, stuff like that. And just from a gameplay perspective, it would feel kind of similar to in Tekken having both Christy and Eddie take up roster spots. It's like, what are we doing? You know, it wouldn't be the exact same thing. Obviously, their powers are a little bit different, but not different enough when it comes to trying to design a move set. So for that reason alone, I've got him in Debatable. And for a very similar reason, I've got the Thing in Debatable. He's just going to play pretty much identical to the Hulk. They've got, like, obviously, when it comes to power scaling, Hulk outclasses Thing by, you know, thousands of times. Orders of magnitude, right? But functionally, they accomplish the same task. But since I've got two members of the Fantastic Four in Debatable, I'm going to go ahead and put the Storm siblings next to each other in there as well. As much as I love the Fantastic Four, and I would love to see them all playable in this game, especially because it's a 4v4, so it makes so much sense to have them all be playable so that you can run the Fantastic Four as a cell. It's just, you got to have all of them if you're going to have one of them, you know? So if there's one that I can't say with my whole chest that I know for a fact is going to be in the game, I feel like I can't say that any of them are guaranteed, right? Another character that I think you could make a very strong case for is Kitty Pryde. I was thinking a lot about, like, putting Ghost in the game, because I think it would be interesting to have a fighting game character who's able to phase through people and objects. I'm sure you'd probably, you know, have to spend some meter. It'd be like a UI Goku, like, counter super type thing. I'm sure you can implement it in the game in an interesting way. I thought about Ghost, but I was like, well, A, I kind of want more women on the roster, and B, I want more X-Men on the roster. So instead of Ghost, we're going with Kitty Pryde. As far as putting her in Debatable and not no-brainer, it's just a popularity thing. You know, she hasn't popped up in a movie in a decade, and she just kind of stays out of the zeitgeist. Real quick though, let's go ahead and get all the rest of the mutants here placed. Wanda is a no-brainer. She is ridiculously popular, especially on Twitter. Holy shit, it's insane. People lose their goddamn minds over that character. Mystique is a pipe dream. I think it would be sick to have a Shang Tsung type character that can, you know, turn into other people. And look, I know my shit. I know my X-Men, okay? I know Mystique does not copy people's mutations. I know that that's what Morph does. He can copy someone's actual powers. Mystique just turns into someone, copies their physical appearance. But who would you rather put in the game? Mystique or Morph? Also, for the sake of a fighting game, I think we can take some liberties with some characters' abilities. And you can give Mystique the ability to copy a person's powers. Like like Captain Ginyu in Fighters. I think that is a reasonable thing to want. Okay? Now, here's a character I feel really strongly about. Nightcrawler. I think he is a lock for this game. As far as I can tell, he's never been in a fighting game before. I could be entirely wrong. I can't wait for you guys to prove me wrong. I was born in '99, okay? A lot of these games are from before my time. Only 2 Marvel vs. Capcom games came out at a time where I could remember them actually releasing. So it's entirely possible that I missed him being in X-Men Mutant Academy or something, you know? Which is probably where he would have been, but we've come a long way since then. A character that teleports and uses swords, you can have a lot of fun with that from a game development standpoint. And so I feel like, you know, in a game where we're already getting very experimental by putting Kamala Khan in the base roster and having her be one of the first characters that you even reveal, the sky's the limit. I feel good about Nightcrawler. I feel a little less good about Iceman, and I can't even necessarily say why that is. It's just he's another character that I feel like has been falling by the wayside. like, at least Nightcrawler has been popping up and stuff lately. Like, he popped up in X-Men Dark Phoenix and X-Men Apocalypse and X-Men 97. You know, he's popping up in people's minds. You know, he's in Ultimate Alliance 3, I believe. Bobby, he's not really doing much. He's not popping up in a whole lot of shit. He's not popping up in movies. He's not in X-Men 97. They haven't said anything about him being in season 2. It's just Marvel's not doing a lot to keep him fresh in people's minds, and that's why I feel like, you know, he might. Obviously, Marvel fans are going to want to play as him, but you have to look at this from not just Marvel fans, but also casuals, right? Because you're trying to appeal to fighting game fans, fans of the MCU, and Marvel comic fans. So that's why I do have some deep cut characters on here, but we'll get there when we get there. Oh, are there any more mutants on here? Rogue. Now, gameplay wise, she does have the ability to, like, drain your powers and use them against you. I think it would be cool if she had 2 different, like, level 3 type supers, and that one of them was she leeches your health for, like, I don't know, 10-20%, and then for the next, like, 10-15 seconds she can use your moveset against you. That could be cool. I think that there's interesting ways that you can implement her, but because of that, that's why I have Mystique down here. I think that there are characters that can do, gameplay-wise, what she can do in a more effective way, and Rogue is just more popular than Mystique. I think she has been for a couple decades now, especially. I think that Jennifer Lawrence and the X-Men prequel quadrilogy kind of brought that character's reputation down by quite a lot. While we're dealing with pipe dreams, let's go ahead and take Blackheart, drop him in there. I want a good amount of villains in this game, but it's hard, man. It's legitimately way more difficult than it has any right to be to figure out characters, or villains specifically, that A, are not just, you know, carbon copies of whatever hero they fight, and B, just have enough mass appeal that they could work in a fighting game. I don't want to put Thanos and Ultron in this game. You know, that's what MVCI was for. I want to take it back and put Blackheart in the game, because we haven't seen Blackheart in forever. I think it's been since MVC2. I don't know how popular Ghost Rider was in the late 90s for Blackheart to be in the game, but hey, you know, Ghost Rider's here. Let's put a Ghost Rider villain in it. Let's get Blackheart back. But I don't necessarily think it's likely. Because we haven't dropped anybody in the DLC tier yet, let's go ahead and do that. War Machine sounds likely to me. You might think it's a hard sell to get somebody to buy, like, what could in a certain world be an Iron Man skin. All you have to do is showcase just the guns and the bombs and the missiles and all the crazy shit that he shoots, you know. Have him call an airstrike, you know. Like, I think War Machine has enough fans. Because you could play as War Machine back in the day, but he didn't function differently enough from Iron Man. But he can now. You know, you focus on Iron Man being sleek and having, like, those little micro missiles and stuff like that. Have War Machine be big, slow, have him hit really fucking hard, and give him these, like, insane full screen options, stuff like that. Like, really take advantage of the differences between Tony and Rhodey. And I think that DLC can sell itself. Another one, Miles Morales. I think there's enough people, because like even talking about Marvel Rivals, people are like, when are they going to add the other Spider-Man? You know, and it sucks calling him Miles Morales all the time. But if I say Spider-Man, you're gonna think Peter Parker, so I do have to specify. Just like I say Wally West Flash, I say Miles Spider-Man. But I think that Miles just having 2 extra powers on top of what Peter can do gives you a whole new arsenal to play with. He can turn invisible. And yes, so can Susan Storm. That's why maybe both of these characters don't work in the game together. I don't know. But he's also got electric powers. He can make like swords and shit out of electricity. He's got all types of crazy shit he can do. You can just give him different animations, stuff like that. Just if you can make an entire game about Miles where he felt different, you can make a fighting game character where he feels different. You know, it's entirely possible. More DLC. The Sentry. I'm trying to keep the roster kind of light on flyers. Just because I don't know yet how that's going to work. Because like Dragon Ball FighterZ is full of characters that can fly, but you don't typically fly in that game, right? There's a button you can use that will make your character fly directly towards your opponent, but you're not flying up into the air to have sustained combat like in Sparking or Tenkaichi or Xenoverse or something like that. I don't know if this game is going to work similarly to that, but I want to keep it kind of light on flyers for that reason. Try to keep that in mind. The Sentry, though, he's pretty popular right now. He's finally in the MCU, you know, and people are looking forward to seeing more of him in Avengers Doomsday. Whatever his role in that movie will be, it's unclear as to what that movie will be in general, though. But obviously, you can have a super where he turns into the Void, just like Jean Grey can have a super where she turns into the Phoenix. It's not the hardest thing in the world. As far as other DLC characters, the Vision. I don't know that I'm confident enough to say that he's a base roster character. I don't think that Marvel has done enough with him outside of the movies to keep him relevant in the eyes of a lot of Marvel fans, or even just a lot of casuals. And even in the MCU, he hasn't shown up in 4 years. I don't even know if Paul Bettany got a chair for Avengers Doomsday. We don't know when Vision's popping up again. And as cool as the Vision is, and as fun as he might be to play as, because he can also phase through things. He's got full screen options. He's got, you know, I don't exactly know where you would want to go with him from a development standpoint, but he's got an interesting enough relationship with some of the other characters that I feel like he's worth exploring, even if he is DLC. But I feel like he's got to be there, right? I would also like She-Hulk to be DLC. It sucks that, like, this is where we are as a culture when it comes to video games. Is like, which characters do you anticipate having to pay for on top of the $70 that you'll already have to pay to play this game? She-Hulk, though, I mean, she's popular amongst actual Marvel fans, right? Like, I know her show didn't go over too well, but she's still got fans. She's a fan favorite from MVC3, and I think that A, having more women on the roster is a good thing, and B, I just like She-Hulk a lot. I just like She-Hulk a whole lot, and she would have really good rapport with a character that I do think is a no-brainer. Daredevil. I couldn't find him earlier. Daredevil seems so obvious to me. I struggle to believe that in a world where, like, the most exciting thing that Marvel had announced in years was a new season of the Daredevil TV show, and that's the thing that people are looking forward to most from the entire future of what's going on Disney Plus. Daredevil's a household name in a way that he wasn't 20 years ago. You know, people are clamoring for a Daredevil solo game. You know, they want to see more Daredevil. They want to see him working with Spider-Man in the next movie. They want to see more Matt Murdock. And we already saw Nelson and Murdock sign in that reveal trailer. So the likelihood is strong that Daredevil's in this game at launch. You know who's probably not going to be in this game at launch? Nova. But like I've said before, he's got history in this franchise. He's in MVC 3 and Infinite, I believe. Fan favorite character. People have been clamoring for him to pop up in a movie. Marvel doesn't seem to have any interest in that. Maybe they just aren't wanting to risk it because he's so similar in concept to Green Lantern. I don't know. I don't work at Marvel. I don't know Kevin Feige. I couldn't tell you what they're so afraid of. But Nova, I think, is one of the coolest characters. He's got a sick design, and you don't even have to do much. Just keep his same kit that he's always had, you know? Like, Widow goes in no-brainer. Hawkeye goes in debatable, though. I know that Hawkeye was in the last couple MVC games, but, I mean, what was he, the first DLC character in Marvel's Avengers? And, like, not a very well-selling DLC. Like, his show was good enough, and people want to see another season of it. People do like Hawkeye. He's got his fans. But if you've ever played Injustice, Green Arrow is infinitely more fun to play as in that game than Hawkeye ever was in MVC. And I don't know if that's a good litmus test to use, but it's like, I just don't want to play as Hawkeye because he's just not Green Lantern. Lantern? Green Arrow. He's just not Green Arrow. As you can see, it's very late at night. Like, my roommate's about to get up to go to work. So I need to finish this recording pretty quickly, I guess. Pipe Dream, Carnage. Venom's got enough of the spotlight right now. He's in every game that comes out. You know, it's time for Carnage to get a chance to do something. As far as I can tell, he'd be brand new to the fighting game genre. Thor, no brainer. Silver Samurai, Pipe Dream, but I think he could be sick. Taskmaster, debatable. Only because he's been in MVC before, but I also don't know if he's just popular enough to say that he deserves a spot necessarily. Black Cat, would love for her to be DLC as well. I don't even know what you would do with her kit, but I want her in the game. Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer will probably be the last character that I throw in the DLC tier. Blade seems like a no-brainer. Captain Marvel seems like a no-brainer. The Punisher is debatable along with Rocket Raccoon just because they're both pretty much strictly gun guys. I don't know, you know, I don't think they want this game to become like zoning central like Injustice kind of devolved into over the years. Arc System Works likes their combat up close and personal, you know, across Guilty Gear, Grand Blue, fighters. Yes, there's full screen options, but it's like you don't typically win a fight by just zoning, you know. The other Captain America will also be debatable, mostly because of the fact that he is Captain America. I think if he was still just Falcon, the chances of him going in the game would be higher just because, like, he's got wings, you know, and like a jetpack, and you could even give him Red Wing as an assist. And he could be really fun, really cool, really interesting to use. You know, the last MVC3 came out before Falcon really got popular and became a household name again. And then MVCI just had such a troubled roster, top to bottom. But it's like, do you want two Captain Americas in the game? But I don't think they're going to just demote him back down to Falcon just to put him on the roster. It's just, I don't know. But I also think it's going to be a hard sell to try to make him a DLC character. Shang-Chi is a pipe dream. I would much rather have him than Iron Fist because, again, Iron Fist has just had so much representation lately. Ant-Man, I think, goes in the debatable tier as well. And Loki is a no-brainer just because, you know, Tom Hiddleston has done so much to make him so popular over the years that, I mean, shit, he was a launch character in Marvel Rivals for some reason. And people just can't get enough of him. His show is like the highest reviewed MCU show outside of the Netflix stuff. People love Loki, and they're going to want to play as Loki in this game. Marvel knows that, Sony knows that, Arc System Works knows that, and it'll be his debut appearance in a Marvel fighting game. But boom. These are my tiers. Again, pretend that Kamala Khan is up here in the confirmed tier. I think this no-brainer tier looks pretty good. Yes, it's very mutant-centric. I mean, shit, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, I guess. 5, 6, 7. Well, I guess not, huh? Anyway. 8, 9. Yeah, 9 mutants in the no-brainer tier. But Kevin Feige has been saying that, like, he wants to emphasize the X-Men, and I believe that. That's why that's, you know, kind of like the entire point of Avengers Doomsday, it seems. Fuck the Avengers, it's time for the X-Men now, you know? And I totally understand that. Oddly enough, though, I don't have any mutants in the DLC tier. But yeah, that's my list. But I'm gonna link this template down below. And you guys can like tweet at me or message me or something in Discord or something. Just I would like to see your version of it. Whatever way you get it to me, if you got to email it to me, I'm game for that. But this is my list. I'd like to see yours, but I need to go to bed before I do that. So I'll see you guys later.